Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I have another amazing honor with the individual become like family, in my opinion. We talk all the time, but very important thing that's near and dear to both of us, unfortunately, still is Parkinson's disease. Whether we're advocating or diagnosed, it's something close to both of our hearts. So again, welcome to the Q&A with Sharon's son, George. This is really episode 2, but in my opinion, it's number 1 because the prior one was with another expert in a different field, but this is run by us fully. So I was, obviously I'm George, I'll wave. And I was my mother's caretaker, Sharon, after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020, and we started TogetherForSharon.com in her memory. Today, I'd like to welcome AC Woolnough, and he's just somebody who I feel is not just an inspiration, but a hero. And today I've been honored, I have the honor and pleasure to speak about his book, On Fire. And really this whole talk today, Q&A, is on AC and his book. So I'll give you the floor for a minute. And I wanted to note, I love his Parkies. Look at that. I wish I had such a beautiful collection behind him.
So you'd like me to talk about the book?
Yes, sir. First, tell us a little bit about yourself. That's always a great way to start off.
Sure. Um, when I was a kid, I wasn't sure what I wanted to be. Pilot, astronaut, fireman. The only thing I knew I would never do would be a school teacher. So, of course, I became a school teacher. And over 37 years, I taught English, was a vice principal, high school principal. Uh, because my dad was in the Navy, we moved a lot, and I kept that up as an adult. So I've worked in California, Idaho, and Alaska, and have lived in numerous other states and countries. Um, Retired at 60 in 2010, and just kind of sat around. And then in 2012, started having symptoms of Parkinson's, and finally had something to do. Research Parkinson's, become an advocate, uh, share what I knew, and Parkinson's became my new full-time job.
Really not just fascinating story, but one that I'm glad we are able to share. I think it's important, not just writing your books, but expressing yourself. But I feel it helps, even with what I do, ensure that others know that they're not alone. I think that's a lot of what we, focus on. And I think, and I'm hoping that this podcast will reach a lot of people who might not have been aware of your incredible work. So let's get right to the book. Use humor in a lot of your pieces. What's so funny about Parkinson's disease?
Well, I think life sometimes just gives us choices, and one of the choices is laugh or cry. And I'd rather laugh. I think attitude impacts the progress of the disease, and besides, it's just more fun. Um,
That's very
if
important.
you know, I had a malignant melanoma a number of years ago, and learned a lot of cancer jokes. We understand how deadly serious both Parkinson's and cancer can be. At the same time, how we live our life, the quality of our life is important.
And I think what you bring is very important. I'm learning a lot every day, researching, reading your books, and I find there's so many things now, like nutrition. There's also exercise, like boxing, but I think comedy and humor is really number one, because if you can get someone to even smile. I remember my mother, if I could just get her to, smile for even a second during her troubles with Parkinson, I knew it kind of helped her leave what she was going through for that moment. So thank you for that. Where do you get the ideas for a lot of your writing?
Life, day to day, Actually, that's the most difficult part of the process. These stories, essays, call them what you will, were actually written about 800 words at a time. I wrote a monthly magazine column for our corner of North Idaho and realized, oh, I've got like 30 or 40 of these, and they're all different, but they're like a mirror ball. Each one gives a different facet of what Parkinson's is like, what it's like living with, experiencing it. So I decided to put them all together into a book and looking for a title. One of our neighbors had a bonfire, and I said, that's it. That's the metaphor. Being on fire, passionate, eager, wanting to make a difference, lighting up the world. And then I ask people, what do you want to read about? And that may generate some ideas. I'll ask my angel Pamela. She usually can come up with something, but the writing is easy. It's the coming up with the topic that's difficult
It's great
for
that you
me.
have, yeah, it's great that you have support. I always, I've gone through a lot of my own school with a PhD, dissertation, law school, police, and I always swore I would never read any more books or write. But then when I picked yours up, I couldn't stop literally. So thank you for that. What are some of the other things you also do in the Parkinson's community today?
Well, I'll start with I try to become educated myself and be involved. For example, one of the things we have in common is my dad had Parkinson's. A lot of people don't know that. And he passed away with Parkinson's a number of years ago. Uh,
Sorry to hear that.
his progressed quite rapidly. And so I look at the fact that I've got Parkinson's, she had Parkinson's, but I've had my genes looked at 3 different times, sequenced, and there is apparently no known genetic component to mine. But I have 2 sons and I have 3 grandsons, and I don't want them dealing with Parkinson's if I can help it. So, what else do I do? Let's see, I've been in over 25 studies, 1 clinical trial. Um, I've worked with the Parkinson's Foundation, worked with Oregon Health and Science University. I'm on their patient advisory council. I've been to NIH, worked with some of their folks, um, tried to make connections. I've been an ambassador for the World Parkinson Congress. Uh, Bottom line is, while I don't let Parkinson's rule my life, I see that as because I can make a contribution, I believe I have a moral obligation, a responsibility to be involved and to uh, move the world and science and medicine and research another step.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is amazing, and I also appreciate and thank you for doing my interview. That's how we met, and again, I was intrigued to do more, and that's why we're here today. But again, I thank you for that. I think the more we share our journeys and stories, the more awareness we bring. And as we're speaking, I don't want to get into too much, but we passed finally the national plan to end Parkinson's was finally moved from the House to the Senate. And honest, just between everyone listening, I already got on the phone Friday, and the whole day I just called my 2 senators, and I've already got appointments with the chief of staff, and I plan on meeting with them, and I'm not going to stop also fighting till we have that in the law. So unfortunately, my family, I always say it's too late for us, but it's not for so many others, and that's why we do, what we do. So thank you. Here's a funner, a more interesting topic, but why do you have a tattoo of a giant squid on your arm? I actually have no tattoos. I was gonna get one with said together for Sharon, but I'm too scared. Yeah. So what does that represent?
All right, it all comes together at the end, but uh, the we have a fair amount of Norwegian in our background, couple, three generations back. And the legend of the Kraken was a sea monster that would drag ships underwater. And uh, most people believe that the legend is based on the giant squid. So the giant squid and is my metaphor for Parkinson's because you see down at the end, he's attacking the brain. And that's what Parkinson's is. It's a monster that attacks your brain. Coincidentally, when my dad was 17, he lied about his age and joined the Navy during World War II. And they, in their infinite wisdom, put him on a submarine, the SS 370 Kraken. And this is all before the Kraken beer and Kraken rum and all that nonsense and the ice hockey team. So this giant squid on my arm is an homage to my dad, a reminder of the connection. In the summertime, when I can wear short sleeve shirts and not freeze in the snow, it's a source of conversation, awareness. Sometimes people ask, what's that about? Other times they'll just kind of look and you get this puzzle, and it gives me an opening to start talking about Parkinson's and research. And so that's why I have a tattoo of a giant squid on my arm.
Thank you for sharing that, and also thank your whole family for his service. It means a lot to me also personally. Not everyone, we have a few more, but then we're going to do the lightning round where I'm going to have your book. And we're just going to talk for fun about some titles. And obviously we could spend 100 hours together and nobody will want to listen to us anymore. But so here's two final questions. Not everyone could be a writer. What are some things everyone can do? Or even if they had some interesting thoughts, how could they also write?
Well, everybody has a story, and stories are incredibly powerful. So that's how I chose to get Parkinson's out there, was by telling stories. Um, what other people can do? Well, if I am the subject of a clinical trial, we need controls. We need to have people like me that don't have Parkinson's to see if the medication makes any difference. People can volunteer, people can contribute money that will go to research. People can uh, assist care partners. One of, I think, the most profound cliches there is you can't pour coffee from an empty pot. And care partners, sometimes their hands are full and overfull. And if people can help care partners, they're also helping people with Parkinson's or whatever disease. Uh, I know my wife works with a support group of just caretakers, and that gives them an opportunity to talk their issues as opposed to my issues. Uh, there's just so much that can be done. Um, you can you can go on Amazon and buy a copy of my book and learn more about Parkinson's. Uh, if I have a money back guarantee, if you don't laugh and cry as you read my book, I'll refund your money.
Mhm.
Because again, I think stories are powerful. There's one, I may be jumping the gun here, George, but there's one story I wrote about my dad that I cannot read out loud. If I start to read it out loud, I cry, and I wrote it. I know what's in it. So um, I think most simply, it's just do the right thing.
I have similar experience writing my first book, not in writing, just in this field of Parkinson's awareness. I'm doing one. I don't know if I mentioned on my mother's journey and mine as caretaker, but at the time I kept a journal. I never shared it with anyone. So a few notes every night of the last year during stage 5, and reliving it when you're writing something that's not just tough, but you have to keep pushing through because you want to share the story, but I definitely understand where you're coming from with that. You mentioned where to get the book, but can we talk a little bit more? Is it mainly Amazon? Is it other places? Or do you like to mention how someone can get the book? I was lucky enough, again, I have a copy. This Zoom is not the best, but I actually will I put it on the internet too, but this is the book. As
Yeah,
I, some
the
reason it's
book
hard.
On Fire, because I was up against the deadline, I self-published, and people have to get that through me. So just my email is acwoolley@gmail.com. And uh, that book is, as I said, available for me. Still on Fire, which was 4 years. There's over 48 chapters and stories about living with Parkinson's. That one is available on Amazon. Just
Yeah.
look up my name. There are not that many Woolnows in the universe. Most of them are in Australia or New Zealand.
Plus AC with the periods, as I've been yelled at for. You have to have the period.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, like I said, I don't know. I've been doing this just really hardcore for the last year. Obviously, I've been doing advocacy for 4 years, but when we met, I thought we were just doing an interview, and I promised you I'll share that interview every year because I don't do a podcast or interview and just say, all right, nice meeting you, have a good life. That's not what I'm doing this for. But when I picked this book up, like I literally couldn't put it down. So, and I'm not just saying that because we're friends now, or I'm trying to sell anything. I don't do any of the stuff for money. I don't accept donation, but I have to recommend everyone listening that this is just a fabulous book. So what I want to take a few moments, we still have a little time, is really just throw out not the content, I'll leave that for you, but I'll just say a few topics of the chapters I found my favorite. Maybe you could talk a sentence or few about each one. So hopefully I'll make sure we limit it, but the one I really interested me was 10 things you may not know about PD. Can you talk a minute about that? It's page 24.
Yes.
I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you're already on the next book, so a moment on this.
I think what's amazing to most people, and it was to me, and I mean, my dad had Parkinson's. I thought I knew what it was about, but there are more non-motor symptoms associated with Parkinson's than there are motor symptoms. Depression, anxiety, uh, difficulty swallowing, loss of sense of smell. There are so many, and there's no set, you have to have these 3 or these 5 or these 9. Everybody's got their own Parkinson's, uh, different combination of symptoms. Constipation is very common. I don't have that. Tremor is very common. I do have that. But I have a friend who has no tremor. His hands never shake. Um, it's a lot of times it's what you don't see uh, with a person with Parkinson's. They look fine. I get that a lot. Oh, you're looking good. Yeah. And unless they want to spend 10 minutes, I say, yeah, I'm doing all right. Or it's progressing slowly. Don't get into Well, this morning I choked on my food and I tripped down the stairs. And um, so be aware there are lots and lots of non-motor symptoms.
I'm so sorry you have to deal with that. That's what keeps me up still at night is knowing that people like family like you have to go through the struggle. And that's why I'm going to keep fighting every day. My mother also didn't have the external tremors, but had everything else. And it's kind of, frustrating because people ask, like you said, and they think because of Mr. Michael J. Fox, because he has external tremors that everybody should have. But like we always say, it's so unique and different to every individual. So that's excellent. How about and this one's exciting, page 42. My perfect world includes a biomarker, and that's something groundbreaking happening in society today, if you want to touch on that one
When I wrote that, there
before.
was no definitive way to tell that somebody had Parkinson's. Actually, there is. It's called an autopsy. If they can get into your brain and look, and they can see if your cells in a certain part of your brain have died, that's definitive. Um, so, hang on two seconds.
Unfortunately, I've actually been to live autopsies because I worked at the prosecutor's
Yeah,
office as a lawyer.
okay.
So,
But just recently, literally in the last 6 months, uh, research funded primarily by the Michael J. Fox Foundation has discovered a way to say, yes, you have Parkinson's with an amazing degree of accuracy. Right now, that's big, gigantic. So what? Because we don't have any medicine that may slow the progress that we're aware of. However, over time, the earlier and sooner we can diagnose someone with Parkinson's, the more likely that we'll have a treatment that will either slow or halt the progression and perhaps even reverse the progression.
thank you. It's an excellent observation and explanation. I get asked that a lot, so I really appreciate that. Page, only a few more, but page 72, PD 101. I feel like I should take that, even though, sometimes they say the caretaker also kind of feels like they have Parkinson just because I sat hand in hand with my mother throughout, the last 4 years. And, she kept asking me, when is this going to go away? When we cure it? Am I going to be there for my, her granddaughter's wedding? And I never lie, but I could never answer some of the questions. So maybe if everyone read this, On Fire, it's a great Christmas and holiday gift. Hanukkah just passed. Unfortunately, we missed Hanukkah. But so what would you like to discuss or teach us about PD 101? I love these titles. I won't steal them though from my book, I promise.
Well, I think what's amazing is that Dr. James Parkinson, and by the way, I wasn't a doctor in the traditional sense, um, but he would sit in his window and watch people walk by uh, his window in London, and he noticed that about 1 in 100, 1 in 200 or so would he shuffle along or be slow or be bent over, stooped, the classic stereotype of somebody with Parkinson's. And because he wrote essentially a book about it, they gave it his name, kind of a dubious honor to know that you have a disease named after you. But again, there's some basics about Parkinson's, knowing that exercise is medicine. Um, the fact that you have, and this comes from Sarah Regar, who's in Sweden. She says, we see our doctor about 1 hour a year. That's like 3 20-minute visits a year. We have 68,000 plus hours of self care. So we need to take responsibility also for our own health. We have to get up on Tuesday and Thursday mornings and go to our boxing class if that's what we do. In the summertime, we have to walk extra because it's hard to walk in the snow and ice in the wintertime. So there's just some basic things we need to do to take care of ourselves. And that also we become less of a burden for our care partners.
I feel these books that you're writing are also not just also part of history, but advocating. It's almost like a life of in and of itself. So you're actually, your voice is now living through the books. And I think the titles are important because people need to be aware. And one big thing I've been trying to do, as you might have seen, is I'm trying to reach individuals who do not have Parkinson's and aren't in the Parkinson's caretaking, because if we don't get everyone in the country or the world involved, we can't win this fight. So if we could reach with your book and our work, people also who just, don't have it, it'll really help, I think, in the long run.
Well,
Uh,
every day people are getting closer to the possibility of Parkinson's. The number one uh, correlation is age. The older you are, the more likely you are to get Parkinson's. So, and remember, you'll never be younger than you are today. You were younger yesterday, but you'll never be as young as you are today again.
And I'm grateful for these moments that I get to speak with individuals like yourself, because my mother had it. So it doesn't mean I won't get it. So, I'm always thinking of everyone else, but I'm even thinking myself, I can get it also. And that's why I'm trying to, learn. And everybody I meet, like you, and I learned so much. So thank you. You don't even might not realize it, but I mean, through the book, I've learned so much. One last area was page 84, the reality of living with Parkinson. To me, that really emphasizes a lot of the book, because that's what, your journey. So what would you like to leave us with on that? And also, after, I have one more follow-up.
Well, um, I I tell you what, since it's almost Christmas time,
Sure.
let me read you
That would be great.
a quick story if I can.
Of course. This is yours. Also, while you're looking, I want to hear the stories after about the three parkies behind you, because I have, I want to
Sure.
someday I'd like to
Okay.
attend.
Now, this first part is actually true. I lived in a little town called North Pole, Alaska. It is actually a suburb of Fairbanks. I was the North Pole High School principal for 5 years. And one day when I was walking downtown, I saw Santa Claus. And I said, "Hey, Santa, how about a magical unicorn for Christmas?" Santa looked at me and said, "Be realistic." And so I said, "Okay, how about a cure for Parkinson's?" Santa says, "What color unicorn do you want?" It just
That would
kind
be
of
great.
just addresses how difficult finding a cure is.
I feel like there was a great holiday gift that they passed, from the House, the national plan to end Parkinson's. It was great timing for the holiday, at least, so gives us a little more hope. But now we have to do even more work with the Senate. That's another talk for. So on that note, I wanted to know if you had anything to add on the book or your future plans of another book, or also if you send me the link after, I'll add it to this, so that people can actually click and order it right there. It would be great. But do you have any other? I also wanted to ask about the parkies. Can you tell us the three parkies behind you? I love them. Why they have different colors? Are they different time, dates,
Okay.
and events?
The Parkies are named Parky.
I only have one.
I call them Portland Parky, uh, Kyoto Parky, and Barcelona Parky. They're the uh, mascot of the World Parkinson Congress. It's held every 3 years. And when they say world, the first one I went to was in Portland, Oregon. The next one, where I was asked to be an ambassador and tour the country and promote it, was in Kyoto, Japan in 2019. And the most recent one was this July in Barcelona, Spain. So the raccoon is symbolic of the masking, facial masking, another symptom that many people with Parkinson's, they kind of lose fine motor control. And I'll be sitting looking like that. And I think I'm smiling. And the grandkids might come up and say, Grandpa, how come you look so grouchy all the time? And I said, well, because I can't help it. I'm smiling uh, the best I can.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know if they realize it, but World Parkinson Congress, I didn't even discover them until like about 5 months ago. And I knew that we had approximately 1 million people in the US with Parkinson, but I never even thought about anywhere else in the world. They opened my eyes, and that's when I started interviewing, and that's how we met. We wouldn't have any of the podcasts, any of my 400 interviews. None of it would have been even in existence today if it wasn't for me learning about them. And I hope they could work with me too, because I think that there's a lot more people who need to be aware of them. So I just want to shout out and thank the World Parkinson's Congress for all they've done, because again, it's all about us. I feel like we're all family, and if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't even be having this talk today. And I'm grateful for your time and this talk. Do you have anything before we sign out today? And want to thank you again. And I've been excited for this for some time. We've been talking for a long time, promoting it, but there's nothing like someone who can express themselves in a published book. I hope to join you in the future there. And I don't know if you had any final words for the Parkinson's community or even about your book.
No, I think the bottom line is be kind, do your best.
Yeah, it's hard to follow that. So on that last words, I want to thank AC. Again, I hope we'll have many more talks. We could probably do another one on another book in the future if you had fun today. I don't, I might be in law enforcement and law, but I don't know a rest in this podcast. But I want to say thank you to everyone listening. Feel free to share this. Please go purchase AC's book, and he has multiple. So after you read the first, you won't be able to put it down. You don't have to, because then you can go get the next follow-up. But I always sign off with this is to all the viewers and to you, AC. But we send our love, our support. We care about you, and you're never alone. I'll advocate for you, and together our voices are so much stronger. And even though it's not reality, I always say I'm just getting started, but I've been doing this for a while. I just like saying that. But anyway, so I want to thank AC for joining us in beautiful Idaho. I'm here in Florida where it's actually raining and miserable, but because of AC and his books, I've been able to smile. And he brings, humor to the book, but also, something that not just a struggle, but a fight. And he, to me, is a winner, and he's going to come out on top of this. And I'm proud to call him friend. So again, thank you. Thank everyone. And hopefully, we have many more of these to come. So just signing off, and again, sending everyone a great holiday wishes.
Take care. Bye now.